let's start at the beginning. Emery, how did you get introduced to the Persona franchise?
So I had a friend who played it, and it was a weird sell because I came into Persona in Persona 5. So I started like a lot of people did, and playing that one for the first time. But I had a good buddy of mine. We have very similar interests, and we love playing JRPGs. And he's like, it's this dungeon crawler, but it's also a life simulator. And the more he talked, the more I was like, I don't know if I'm into this, because he's like, you study and you go to jobs, and I'm like, well, I play video games to get away from studying and my job, so I don't know why this is appealing to me. But then I got into the casino scene. I borrowed it from him, played it on my PlayStation 4, and I started playing, God, 2 hours, and I'm like, I'm gonna give you your disc back because I'm buying this. They did such a good introduction, a very in media res introduction to start things off, like right off the bat, like completely different from how Persona 4 did it, which was like 3 hours of exposition. Persona.
So much visual novel stuff.
Yeah, which I love now, but if I started with that, maybe I wouldn't as much. But yeah, Persona 5 just hits you right in the right from the start, putting you in this casino. You're a thief running around trying to avoid these people in suits, and it's extremely stylish and cool. And I'm like, I'm hooked. So I played through it. I mean, through the month of November and December, I'm just like, I was completely hooked, to the point where as soon as I was done, I immediately started up New Game Plus. And that's something I've never done with a franchise, is immediately started the new game. Because I'm like, I want to know all about these interesting and heartwarming people that I'm meeting. Because I love the relationships that I was forming with, all the Phantom Thieves and all the outside people of the Phantom Thieves. And I was like, I didn't get to all of them. And one was EY, who was, AKA Gundad, who was expressing his sentiment like, oh, I wish we could have gotten this done, and but maybe we'll get him next time. Some dialogue like that, and I immediately said, start a new game. I'm going to him first, because we're resolving this. I'm not letting this go to waste. So yeah, I mean, it was an immediate hook in terms of playing, but I stayed because I loved those social interactions. As a communication scholar, it just immediately appealed to me.
So you've been hooked ever since, basically.
Yeah, I mean, after I was done playing Persona 5, someone was nice enough to let me borrow their PlayStation Vita. And I played Persona 4 Golden. I had a conference in the Czech Republic, and I played it all the way from the United States to the Czech Republic and all the way back. Great plane riding game, by the way.
That is a long game. And
Yeah.
now it's on PC, by the way, if you haven't, for anyone who does not have a Vita, the gloriously abandoned handheld, which is one of the greatest machines of all time, still has the most beautiful screen I've ever seen on anything. But nope, Sony just let it out to die. So how about yourself, Teshy? Where did you start?
As a little kid playing Persona 3.
Nice.
And I got very confused when it came to the opening, because just out of nowhere, this chick is like shaking, about to shoot herself with a gun, and I'm just like, what's going on? and then yeah. Main dude, Persona, bang, and I'm like, what?
Warning: this series, if you're triggered by like really sensitive like visuals and stuff, this series does have a lot of that, and it's you might think because it's anime, like it's inoffensive or cartoony, but no, it tackles a lot of visually and conceptually a lot of very tough subjects.
Persona
the third game, as you mentioned, people
dark
summon their personas by shooting themselves in the head, and that is definitely like a visual that could definitely trigger a lot of people if they're not okay with that sort of thing. Approach the series with with that understanding. Does the game provide content warnings? If you consider age ratings content warnings, yes. I would say by modern standards, no.
Yeah, modern standards, no.
There is one thing in Persona 5. Granted, this doesn't have anything to do with like themes of suicide or trafficking or anything, but they do say this game is a work of fiction.
Mhm.
Any connection that you have with these characters are completely. I mean, they almost like say they're parasocial.
Mhm.
You know, this is not real.
They're not
Anything
real,
that you
yeah.
experience. Yeah, I mean, this is completely within your own brain in this case. And they're like, and as long as you agree with that, you can play this game. And if you don't agree with it, game's over.
So I was a whole 11 when I played Persona 3 for the first time. So
that must have been
to give you guys context on why I was a very confused child.
Experiencing the evoker at that age, my gosh.
Yeah, that's wow.
I'd much rather have card smashing from Persona 4.
Right?
Yeah,
So
Persona 4 must have
take.
been like a walk in the park in comparison. Like,
Yeah,
it's so
Persona
cheery
4
and
just
upbeat
seems
and
so like awesome and cheery and whatnot, and then you go back into Persona 5 and it's like rip mask off face, and it's like, oh, we're back in the dark. Awesome.
Persona 3, everyone dies. Persona 4, everyone lives. Persona 5, everybody sucks.
Everybody's mad.
Yeah, everybody's bad. Like, everybody, literally everybody. Unless they're part of your team.
It does speak to the point of why, because I mean, I guarantee you, people are just starting to listen. They haven't played Persona. They're like, okay, what the hell is going on with this whole gun to the temple thing with the evoker in Persona 3? And it kind of gets into the origin of where personas come from, which is kind of a projection of your soul under duress. And so their idea was, if I scare myself to death, almost to the brink of death in this case, that's the only way that my persona will be able to appear. So anytime that you see, especially in Persona 3 and Persona 5, they are under the most dire of circumstances to where they are either near death or they are under such extreme suppressed emotions that they have no choice to just have it explode. And I mean, you know, for Persona 5, you could probably make an argument that's an allegory for puberty in this case, but it really is these emotions just completely jumping off the page in sometimes a violent way because they've suppressed it for so long. Persona 4 has a little bit of that suppression, but it's a much calmer way of doing it. So I mean, I feel like I just need to explain that.
No, it's just the imagery of Persona 3 is actually on the screen right now. I just want to let people know that that's coming up there. It's
as I see that they have Memento Mori being in the opening, and that just makes me laugh now. Even though this was far before the times of Unis Annus, but still, like, my brain just now associates that.
Masti brought up a relevant question here. It's like about like content warnings. Do you think that just saying like this is fictional, do you think that's enough? Do you think these games should maybe have a little more emphasis on describing what the content is, as opposed to just saying this could be bad?
Game. Yeah, I think so. Personally, I think it would be nice to have a trigger warning. I stream the game. That's what I'm doing right now every Tuesday night. And one of the things that we consistently talk about is making sure that if there's a sensitive topic coming up, we're going to put a trigger warning in the stream chat. And I would have liked to at least for them to say, we're going to approach some really dark and difficult topics. So, you've been warned.
Yeah, like, warning alert for anyone who hasn't played Persona 5. There is talk of like rape and sexual harassment and abuse and things like that, which I did not realize until I was in the middle of those missions, and that sent me into a whirlwind of a panic attack. that was wonderful. Continued playing the game because I love Persona, but still.
Yeah, and that's like within the first few hours.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Oh, and then also even suicides happening as well within the first few hours. So it's just like a trigger warning of just like, hey, just so you know this is going to happen. It does help with like not having those attacks.
I'm a big believer in that. Apparently, this is controversial online. I'm a big believer that people tackling stuff that they're uncomfortable with is a good thing. But I do agree that
100%.
at least some basic explanation. What I think should happen is that content warnings should be improved upon. Like the information you get on the box should be more detailed. As in, like, if it has like violence, then you could say, I'm trying to figure out the right way to phrase this. It should say implied suicide or something like that, or graphic violence or allusions to rape or something like that, and make that a dedicated thing on the content warning along with the
Instead
age
of it just
rating.
saying like
And
adult content.
yeah, and instead of just adult content, because that's so broad that it doesn't really tell you anything, especially with people being so informed about so many mental health things now. They deserve to have that understanding. Do you have any thoughts on that, Emory?
Yeah, I mean, it's I agree in a lot of respects of addressing and kind of feeling what the Phantom Thieves feel. In this case, it is jarring, and it is something that we may not be used to, but this is a game about trauma. And that comes up quite a bit. There were some elements that I would sit there and go, I was horrified by, especially if you don't complete the palace in an amount of time. They'll go into detail as to what happened afterwards. Makoto's, for instance, or Makoto, however people want to pronounce it, is actually extremely jarring to say that she was woken up in a drugged stupor, and it was expressed that she had been sexually assaulted, to the point where I'm like, I would never let any, like, if it's the first day for infiltrating a palace, I'm like, I'm doing all of it. I'm not leaving anything to chance. I'm rescuing.
Five did not hold back. Like the first palace is like, I almost feel like the first palace is so tough emotionally that it almost makes the later ones feel less impactful, because it's just such a serious thing, and it's such a relevant thing now. Men in positions of power abusing women for their own personal benefit and denying it to themselves, when they're literally just trolls sitting on a toilet, just with nothing of value to give to the world. They think they're amazing, but they're just gross and guilty.
Wearing a cape and underwear and thinking they're the hottest shit.
Yeah. And the game 5 does such a phenomenal job of representing this. Even like Yosuke. No, sorry, Ryuji. His story seems like a small thing. He busts his leg up. Like, you think, oh, that's not a big deal. But track and field is his life. There are people who have had physical injuries that basically made the thing they want to do, it will be impossible forever. And it's all because of a teacher's neglect. And that teacher is not going to be punished. That teacher is not going to have to take any responsibility for what he did. And I'm sure even we can relate to stuff like that. Like, maybe not to that level, but abusive people in authority is we've all been there.
I was so happy to defeat Kamoshida.
I don't think anyone liked Kamoshida. I would be I would be concerned about anybody if they liked Kamoshida. Out of the entire franchise, is there any particular characters that you connected with, like, personally, that you feel like what they went through was something you could really relate to? I'll let Teshy go first.
Oh, well, for me, like I can semi relate to Ryuji with the aspect of not being able to do something he loves because like my hand was injured a long time ago, so like I can't play guitar or piano anymore. Like I could try to do left-handed guitar, but my right hand is like, what are you telling me to do? This doesn't make sense. But the person I truly relate to the most is probably Futaba, just because I understand after going through a trauma just wanting to lock yourself in a room, shut yourself out from everything, and then just finding your way out of that darkness. Like her palace was just very impactful for me. And I love that article that was in our Google Docs. I read
I'm,
through that earlier.
I'm actually glad. Like this wasn't planned, guys, but like her bringing it up and it being connected. But Futaba is a amazing example of this and exactly what uh, Emory and got Emory and I talking in the first place. He's the one that introduced me to this article. So I can give him full credit for that. If you give me a moment, I will bring it up here.
I had someone share that to me after a PAX, and I was really moved by it.
Yeah, I was reading it earlier and I'm like, I completely 100% feel this. Like, I understand this.
This article was written by Abby Espiritu, and she talked about how basically the experience that Futaba had gone through in the franchise basically helped her figure out how to connect with herself better as a person. And I would highly recommend to not be so hard on herself. It's a tough read. She's gone through like really difficult experiences, and for those who haven't played Futaba or who haven't played Persona 5, Futaba is basically what in Japan they often refer to as a hikikomori. It's a person who isolates themselves from the outside world and doesn't interact with people and just surround themselves with what they have inside instead of building up connections with people, because the pain they've gone through has been so painful that they don't know how to reconnect with society because every experience they've had been like nothing but pure trauma, and it took them time to get back to that place. And when you see a character go through that journey, go through that experience, become a better person, find people that help them open up. They might not enter our heads in really cool outfits and kill demons for us, but they still try to help us in their own little way. And I feel like you want to share some thoughts on this, Emery.
Yeah, I mean, well, one, any way that you can help make mementos a little more tolerable, Futaba does that, and I do enjoy that. But I will say, going back to the question for me specifically, I thought long and hard about this. I had two characters that really spoke to me. One in a smaller way was Kanji from Persona 4. And Persona 4 is all about understanding your identity, facing a side of it that you may not really want to discuss. And I know that myself, I've often considered myself and tried to build myself as a tough guy, that kind of thing. But I've got a lot of feminine traits within me. And that was something that I had to take a lot of time to come to grips with that, particularly with having gender roles, established in that case. And, it was something that I had to kind of understand a little bit about, what makes me who I am and the things that I like and, how I feel about certain things. So that was one thing. Makoto was another one that really spoke out to me because I'm extremely ambitious. I know that I'm an overachiever and a try hard. I
don't think you are at all, but it's not about what you are, it's about what you feel.
That's right. That's true. So yeah, that's my own perception of myself, whether or not I actually or not. But I've also been told that I've had a lot of trouble with authority, and
Kanji again.
Yeah, kanji has that.
Yep.
But it's always listen to your authority figures. They're always right, and I felt like that for a long time with the burden that Makoto felt with her storyline was all of these people, whether it be the principal Kabayakawa or her sister Sai or anybody that was in an authority position, she immediately just shut down when she was challenged. And I'm like, Makoto, you shouldn't, because you're brilliant and you work really hard and you're sharp in terms of your understanding of the surroundings around you. But she just never had that confidence until her awakening, which is one of my favorites in the entire series, of her just stomping on the ground and the entire floor breaks around her. And I got pumped every time. And I felt that way, finding my own voice. And I think that's something that Persona does really well, is kind of identity projection, of connecting with these characters. I mean, circling back to parasocial relationships, I felt like, although, this isn't a real character, I felt very driven and motivated by this act of courage to be able to say, I'm not going to give in like this anymore. I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to, I can still listen to authority figures, but at the same time, I'm going to do so if they are correct or if they are trying to help me. But I'm not going to do this for the sake of authority, be persuaded that way. So, yeah, I loved Makoto, and she's definitely one of my favorites.
I don't want to go into myself too much because I like to keep that kind of stuff to myself. But for me, it was Yusuke. We had this conversation, and Yusuke as a person was so like invested in the things that he did, that social. This is different from like isolating yourself. It's that like he wasn't isolated. He just did not understand how to interact with people. He used everything in a very kind of linear kind of fashion. Like, this is the way. Why is this person acting outside of this kind of attitude, and trying to understand and comprehend social norms. And in his case, it was art. In my case, it's the written word. It's literally in my username. That name is there for a reason. And he eventually had to learn to come out of this box of like rules and procedure, and learn how to understand like that other people think differently than he does, other people act differently than he does. And a lot of that is because he spent a life where authority was something that was enforced upon him, that there is only supposed to be like one way of doing things. His own personal fear of not saying what he really felt, not speaking out and saying what he needed to say, ended up limiting him because of that. And that is definitely how I kind of perceive how I used to interact with people. That I did not know how to build up like these kind of conversations we're having here right now. 10 years ago, I would not be able to do that because I didn't have the connections with people. I didn't know how to build connections. And it took people like Masty teaching me how to open up about myself and take pride in the things that I do, and let people see a little more, like how he shared his art with his friends, as you could connect with these people even if you're like completely different. Being different doesn't necessarily mean that like there's something wrong with you. I like, even just talking about it makes me tense, I'm not gonna lie. But Koldrak actually brought up something here that really interested me in regards to this game. And he said, for somebody who's never played a Persona game, hearing all of this doesn't really convince me to play these games. So we have a mission now to convince Koldrak that he needs to play Persona. And Masty actually posted an amazing reply in regards to this. And she says that the games don't just throw the traumatic experiences around just for the sake of it. They're not just there. It's not like bad thing, bad thing, bad thing, bad thing. It's filled with so much more positivity and joy and goodness in the experience that it's not just misery for the sake of misery. It really Teshy, convince Cal that he needs to play this series, or why he needs to.
So, like, when it comes to the traumatic things that they go over in this game, it's more so that they're going, here's these hidden sides of people where it's like, when you hear someone was abused and, like, you know the abuser, then, like, half the time you're going to end up responding, oh, I never thought they were like that. And so, like, it goes into those types of mindsets and, like, showing you how then the survivors of all of those terrible things, like, how they get through that trauma. And, like, that's one of the things that I love the most about the Persona series is it's literally them working through emotions, them getting to a better spot, them finding friends in unlikely of places, and just coming together, saving others, etc.
And it is literally a visual novel's worth of content.
Yes.
If you can finish a Persona game in under 100 hours, you're doing pretty well, I would say. Like,
and you're probably skipping a lot of
yeah,
dialogue,
you're probably
in all
rushing
honesty.
half the social stuff. It's Emory, like, there is a certain draw. We agree there's a certain draw to the series for people where these characters are deeper than just the surface layer of like, oh, she went through this or this happened to them. It does actually like resolve and build these characters up beyond just the surface.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said, and this is actually something that I've, with a few of my colleagues, actually wrote a study where we went through all the confidence links in Persona 5 The Royal, and we coded for a specific scale that was for post-traumatic growth. Mm-hmm. And these were, a couple of the categories are relating to others, new possibilities, personal strength, appreciation of life, and spiritual change. Those were all designations that were coming up in this field of post-traumatic growth. And it's difficult because you meet people at their absolute worst. And the rest of the story is them getting through and becoming, almost like a new person to where they are like, this happened, but at the same time, I'm building past it. They find strength in their friends. They try new things. Futaba with her promise list is a great example of that, of really getting into new possibilities in this case, and her challenging herself to continuously get past her social anxiety of being around people. So Persona 5 in general does get into, again, how we push past these painful things. And this is one of the reasons why I think people like a lot of Japanese storytelling, particularly within anime, for instance, because the whole premise behind anime and how it started was, how do we get over what happened with World War II? Astro Boy, aired right after or soon after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And it, obviously the country was in a very depressing state, but if you watch things like Naruto or My Hero or, Demon Slayer, whatever, these like shonens in particular, it's all about persevering, and it's all about friendship and family and being with others. And Persona jumps right into that. It's a shonen. Honestly, Persona, all of them are shonens. Given magical powers.
I never thought about it that way, but like it's literally about, you're literally fighting for like 70% of the experience.
You can also technically call it even a harem, and that's what's hilarious.
Oh god, let's not go down that route.
Yeah, but the game does a really good job in either making you feel absolutely guilty about it, like in Persona 4, or if you take the harem route in Persona 5, all the girls
It's hilarious.
crap out of you for doing it, and I'm like, and you deserve it.
Yeah,
Literally.
you can't actually join that. You can't actually have a harem in those games because the women will find out and they'll be like, "You have been a very naughty boy, protagonist."
Oh, Cal wants his harem, it seems.
So Teshy piqued my interest. Okay, see, like big emotional psychoanalysis and emotional drama. Nope, harems. I'm in. It's like
And I will say, kind of the whole like battle system as well. It turns a lot of people off with the JRPGs of trading bonks on one character versus the protagonist versus the baddie. Oh, Persona. This is the whole Persona series does it so fluidly and beautifully, and the music is outstanding. And
oh god, yeah, just
go through it. And, oh yeah,
I would play the game for the even if this game had none of this deep psychology and beautiful, perfect art, and it was just the music and the gameplay sucked, I would still play it.
Oh yeah,
just so I could hear that music. But it really is style and substance. There is so we cannot emphasize this enough. It takes the long path to get to that character development, and you get as much development out of those characters as you put into them. Like if you don't spend the time with those people, they won't develop in those complex ways. You won't get the gameplay advantages from helping them become better people. Like if you help out the doctor, you get better medical items. It's
or
such
like
a simple...
help out the teacher and you get your room cleaned.
Yeah.
That's a story within itself. Right
I'm
there.
still not sure how I feel
love
about that
hitting
story.
that
Like
point.
whether it's a good portrayal or a bad portrayal.
I love the story. I don't like the romance aspect of it.
Oh god, no, oh yeah. FYI, guys, teachers should not get with students. We do not condone this at all. I really wish they hadn't put that into Persona 5 because I don't think it's in the other games. In any context.
You can get with a nurse in Persona 4.
Yeah, I was gonna
That's
say I don't
older
think
than
there's
you.
any teachers though, specifically.
You can in 5?
No, in other personas.
Oh, in Persona. Okay.
It's yeah, that one's a little odd. And yeah, I know that the viewers in my stream have been talking about who the character should date in my playthrough of it, and they're already setting boundaries of, they're like, not Kawakami. They're like, we're vetoing that one, and I'm like, good, because I'm a
Kawakami's not allowed. Sai is not allowed.
I actually ended up not dating anyone because just none of them, like, as much as I love the characters, they didn't hit me in a way that I felt like there was a romantic interest there. And the one that was closest, honestly, the doctor, I was like, nope, that's not happening. That's so unprofessional. It's like, let's stay well away from that because that woman's got her own issues to sort out.
Tay has got a lot of IRB problems.
Yeah.
Like she may be a good-hearted doctor, but yeah, the institutional review board in terms of testing on human subjects would be banging down her door in a matter of seconds.
You were never working in the medical field ever again.
No, it's bad.
It is. So have we convinced you to at least consider checking out the franchise, Cal? Have we nudged you in the right direction? I will consider
it to be a yes.
Yeah.
Can I clip that as evidence for our eventual debate?
Deberju, absolutely.
That is a very interesting username.
Yeah, he's Deberju is on our stream consistently. He's one of our moderators and has been a part of the stream. Lord Azure is what we call it. And yeah, what a valued community member, and we love having him on there. So thanks for joining.
It's something to stress is like this beautiful art style has existed throughout the entire franchise. Like this, for instance, playing down here right now, bring it up on the big screen actually, is
Yeah.
artwork from the PSP version of Persona 1.
Mm.
And it's always been an element of the franchise, and the depth of these characters as well has been there. I feel it came more to the fore in like the second game in Persona 2 and 3, and then like from 3 it was just like we can do whatever we want.
Hmm.
Let's just go wild with these characters. And do you have a personal favorite, Emory?
For the games,
Yeah.
I've got segments of things that I like about all of them. I will say, as far as the relationship building, I like Persona 4 the best. But as far as the gameplay, I don't think Persona 5 can be topped.
That is valid. How about yourself, Teshy?
I I think if I had to choose one, it would probably be 4. But I
What?
honestly don't know because like there's just so many aspects of all of them that I really enjoy. So it's one of those things where it's like I like the tower from Persona 3. Like that's one of my favorite
The
dungeons.
Tartarus, yeah.
The Tartarus was just it was really fun. I liked the aspect of like you couldn't be in there for too long because it's literally the midnight hour and whatnot. But like I didn't like the coffins. That creeped me out. But again, I was 11, so like it's understandable of how creeped out I was.
Game
And
is so
then
creepy, yeah.
and then 4, it's like, oh, we're getting sucked into TVs. That's really cool. But then Teddy is just, yeah.
Are you a fan of Teddy? Are you not a fan of Teddy? Do you find him unbearable?
My friends do too many bear jokes around me for the specific reason of Teddy. So
He can be very difficult.
I agree.
thank you for
It's,
continuing it. I appreciate.
I find him furry annoying at times.
Yeah.
I'm not.
He does put you in a lot of hairy situations.
Let's give. I'm
just
totally
gonna walk
stealing
away,
this
bye.
joke, but let's give Emory a round of applause for that joke.
Oh.
Thank you for that one, Cheery. We very much appreciate that. Teshy could barely keep it together.
You guys are just trying to kill me right now. It's okay.
Oh boy.
I apparently deserve it. Maybe my persona will come out.
But this is all part of the streaming grizzlies.
I'm trying to figure out a way to put Ursine in a
He
sentence.
threw out like a grizzly now and again. I can't remember how he did
But I can't bear these puns. I personally think it's important to just grin and bear it.
Yes, beautiful.
I have to say, bear is such a versatile word.
It is.
It quite surprises me. Again, like every guest and every person we have on here, we could easily go and talk about this for another hour and a half. I would like to know if you have any final thoughts on the franchise, or if anyone as well in the chat has any questions in particular. Feel free to let us know. Emory?
Oh, I can be put on the spot here. I really do think that Persona is one of the best franchises for understanding how deep and meaningful relationships are communicated. And again, it's one of the reasons why I love it so much. Whether it be 3, 4, and 5, especially in terms of it's an industry standard for how we deepen relationships now. We've seen it in Fire Emblem. We've seen it in Stardew Valley. You know, there's 100 different examples that we can look at now that we develop each of these interactions and progressively have more deep conversation. And Igor expresses that within his monologue in Persona 5. He's like, we're not looking for superficial relationships here.
Mhm.
And I think not only that, this is one of the franchises that, I mean, I wear this lanyard in particular all the time with all the Persona 5 characters. And every single time I've referenced it at a PAX, there's always been about 3 or 4 people that have come up to me after our panel and said, this game had really done something to help me get over something or discover a little bit about myself. And I'm like, that's really powerful. And it really spoke to me in a lot of the ways that it changed a lot of the ways that I do things and I see myself. And so I just love that about the series. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to continue playing when Persona 6 comes out. Hopefully we'll have an announcement on the 25th anniversary. Maybe not, but
don't get my hopes up.
I know.
I've been waiting 4 years for Shin Megami Tensei 5. Like,
oh, that's another good series.
Eventually.
As I like just reminding people that Persona is technically a spin-off series of Shin Megami Tensei.
Can we even say that anymore, though? Like, it doesn't even use the name SMT on the title anymore.
Yeah, they removed that back. Wait, when did they remove that? Was it with 4 that it wasn't on it anymore?
I'm waiting for... Apparently in Japan, it's never had SMT on the title. That was a purely Western thing. But it was still considered like a offshoot because it was using the same core foundation. For at least for 3, 4, and 5 was building on the SMT systems. Whereas 1 and 2 were like their own vastly different thing. So I can understand why that was the case with 1 and 2. Any closing thoughts, Teshy? Before I answer a few really quick questions.
Anyone who hasn't played it, play it. You'll enjoy it.
Go play it, Cal, or I will remove your mod permissions.
Just remember, you're probably going to be stuck in like a 5-hour-long cutscene. Or it'll be like 10 cutscenes all put together. Like you may fall asleep and wake up to still a new cutscene going on.
It takes like
you are warned.
It takes like 3 hours of cutscenes before the gameplay starts in Persona 4 and 5.
Battle.
But you've played Final Fantasy 14, Cal, so you know exactly what that's like.
If you can deal with the exposition in Final Fantasy, you can deal with the exposition in Persona.
Yep. A few quick fire questions before we wrap things up. Masty, where do you think the franchise is going to progress from here? Basically, what do you think Persona 6 is going to be? No.
I see. The thing is, I honestly didn't know how they could improve 5, and then when they brought in Royal, I'm like, the things that I would sit there and go, I really wish they would have done. I would sit there and say they addressed it. They made mementos more tolerable. I do think so. Some things that they'll do is, I think they have to keep the social link system, at least to a degree. I would really like to see them to continue doing fixed dungeons instead of the randomized one. If you're going to do a randomized one, make it kind of an offshoot farming
Keep it
place
optional,
like Mementos. Yeah, I mean, I like the themes of Persona 4, but the random stuff got a little annoying after a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
More important question, what color is it going to be?
Let's see.
It's so obvious. There's
green?
like green. It has to be green. Like, what else is left? Purple?
Orange?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it gonna go purple? I would be happy with purple.
Orange is too close to red, though. It's like we got to go through like Power Rangers kind of like aesthetic, like red, green, yellow, maybe pink. Let's make it pink.
Blue.
Yeah,
Pink would be cool.
Black and pink would actually work if they managed to own it. We already have blue. Persona 3.
Oh yeah, that was blue. Yep.
Where do you think Persona 6 is going to go, Teshy?
I don't even know. Like, I was happy that they brought things into like the actual real world when it came to Persona 5, because like in 3 and 4 it was always like, oh, the midnight channel, the midnight hour, this doesn't actually affect the real world. Like, everyone's asleep, no one even knows this is going on. versus like Persona 5, like they literally miss half of school because of their first trip into the metaverse. So it's like it was really cool to see them expand that. So like I really don't know where they could go. Like they're always upping themselves in every game, and I'm always impressed.
Do you guys think we're going to get an announcement for Persona 6 here? Because when we actually think about it, no, it's been like 4 years
Well, they might do an
since 5
announcement,
came
but
out.
it'll take another 4 years before it actually comes out.
Oh, yeah.
If it's anything like Persona 5.
And the release date
Mhm.
will get missed like 3 or 4 times. So
If it's good, I don't care.
Right.
I
Persona 5 is such a quality product.
don't think we need to worry about that.
One more thing I'll say about it is one thing I will expect for Persona 6 is the adaptation of technology progressing even further to kind of complement with how society is. That's one thing that I think Persona does a really good job of each way they bring in the metaverse is based on some new technology that's going on at the time. So, with 5, it's the forum and the app on your phone. So I could see that digging even deeper in Persona 6.
I think that would be a cool, like how technology is actively affecting our world, positively and negatively, and like trying to find a balance between that. And I think that's like a relevant thing, as long as they just don't make it like, oh, kids are zombies because they look at their phones, or like.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give it a lot of nuance. Let's talk about someone who's got like an addiction to the internet or that kind of thing. There's actually a crap ton of potential with that.
VR would be cool. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
seeing that in the comments.
They have VR in the Persona dancing games, just as like an actual feature.
Oh, yeah.
You can walk.
That's
around.
how you enter the metaverse, is through VR.
No, you can literally walk around the characters' bedrooms.
Oh, how about that?
In the dancing ones, if you have it on the PS4. So that would be it's pretty cool stuff. Like there's a lot of little like game details in there that you can, and it's got for 3 and 5, not 4. 4 is separate. Yeah. Thank you for the follows, Bear. The Bear Jew. That name confuses me because I know a guy called the Baz Jared, so there's like such names. Okay, yeah. I think we've covered everything for this. Cal wants to know where he can find you. I keep trying to. You don't stream personally yourself, but I do know you're part of a channel that does.
So I do stream, but it is part of Geeks Like Us.
Feel free to throw a link in there. You can. It's like so, exclamation SO.
Wait.
Because you don't advertise that much on your Twitter. I've seen you mention it a few times, but I never see links. So that kind of, I've always had trouble trying to find out like exactly that is quite a unique spelling.
Yes. That's where we are on Twitter. We have content 5 days a week. Mine is always on Tuesday nights, where I again dive into lore about games that I played and I know very well. So I've done Bloodborne, Skyrim, and now I'm doing Persona 5 The Royal. So that's where I stream. But again, I can be found on Twitter. That's where I am probably more than I should be. And my handle is at Fusrodoc, FUSRODOC.
Crap. I knew I forgot a question. What is the deal with your Twitter handle?
Oh, do you not know?
Oh, I get the reference, but I'm like, what?
Okay.
What inspired you to come up with such an original? Other than being a fan of Skyrim, it probably is that simple.
And the thing is, my wife and I both came up with it while we were driving one day, and I had a handle that I hated. It didn't apply to anything at all, and so we started talking to one another, and we were like, what are things that we both like? And so Skyrim came up. We love playing the game, and we were just kind of bouncing ideas off, and it was like, what about Fusro Doc? This was right fresh out of my PhD, and I was like, well, I love the idea, but let's see if it's taken. And Yeah, so it wasn't. And she actually did a diamond painting back there that says Fusro Doc
That is
on
amazing.
there.
Mas,
That's
So,
you
awesome.
already answered this for me, but Masty asked right at the start of the show. What's that picture behind you?
so that's from My Hero Academia. My wife does a lot of diamond paintings. They're like little, they're like pixels that she puts together and creates these like elaborate photos from. Yeah. So so there you go, right there. That's a diamond painting.
I am
Uh,
Groot.
So they take a long time, but
they
she, she
do.
she's the master of it, I swear. And she'll like say, "What do you want me to do next?" So she really supports my nerdiness with anime, and I'm always like constantly saying, "Let's do some from My Hero," or "Let's do some from Demon Slayer," or whatever it may be. I've got one from Persona up here too. Um, and yeah, so that's Bakugo taking a headband from Monoma. It's one of my favorite scenes of just kind of looking into drive and tenacity, which I really like. So, but yeah, it's increasing my what I like to call my weeb wall. Uh, it's increasing in my background here.
You need to copyright that so nobody can take that. That's amazing. Weeb wall.
Weeb wall. Yep.
Try saying that 10 times fast.
I would rather not. I have the lowest score in your game for saying things quickly. So that's probably
you know what I need to do? I need to add more anime questions.
You should.
I could probably do pretty well with that.
Best shonen protagonist.
Midoriya.
Worst harem show.
Oh gosh, high school. Well, any of them, honestly.
All of them. Thank you. Best fan service.
Oh, I'd still have to go with My Hero.
Is that a fan service?
No. Fan service. Oh gosh. Kill a Kill.
Kill a Kill. Yeah.
The only answer to that question is Food Wars.
Food. Yeah. Gosh.
Are we sure it's not High School DxD?
I've never seen that.
Or High School of the Dead?
Yeah, that's a big harem, and
Oh
they're
gosh.
all feels attacked. Sorry.
Okay. Emory has officially won our Under Pressure Weeb edition. I'm going to actually do this sometime. Create like an episode where it's just like, no, you know what I'm going to do? Thank you for inspiring me, Emory. I'm going to like create different categories, and people will get to pick at the start of like the show what category of questions. It can be video games, it can be books, it can be anime. So that way the person will always get the questions that they want. It just means I need to cut out like 500 more sheets of colors. Masty, have you got any plans for the next week? Thank you, Emory. Teshy, where can we find you?
I am Teshy Games on most things. Some of my things are slowly being converted into Teshy Boops because, well, boop. But yeah, Teshy Games for now until everything fully converts.
Teshy, oops, there we go.
Well, I think on the Twitch it is still Teshy Games. Yeah.
I can I take credit for that, by the way?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Because I know I suggested it, but I don't want to like assume that I was like
I had it in my head because I'm like, boops?
Because it's like your entire identity.
I don't know. And then like you brought it up, and I'm just like, like I have someone else confirming the thought in my head, so I think that solidifies it.
Do you want to teach Emory how to boop so that we can end the show that way?
So it is a heart through, and how to do a heart through. Yep, there you go. Just cross pointer finger and thumb and boop.
Boop. Yep. Okay, remember that in the next 2 minutes. I will be here right on this channel where you found me today. Thank you to everybody who dropped a follow in. If you enjoyed the discussion here today, please do drop a channel or a few on the Discord. God damn it. I thought I was doing so well and everything. If you enjoy the discussion here today, please do drop us a follow over on the Discord, where we have many discussions like this, talking about a wide range of topics, from the most serious to the most nerdy. We have regular community questions from the supporters of our channel, and retro streams every weekend, once again, supported by the people who help support this channel. Yeah, it's life. Give me a break. Give me another 20 years of practice and I'll get it down. And yeah, of course you can check us out on social media as well. All of this will be up on YouTube, and the podcasty things, if you want to check them out in the future. We'll be breaking them up into separate episodes, discussing like the psychology stuff, the parasocial stuff, the persona stuff separately. So that's always a good way to check if you don't feel like looking at my ugly mug for 90 minutes. This has been a fantastic show. Thank you, Emory. This has turned out so much better than I was. No, I did expect it to turn out great, but it turned out even better than I expected. It's like saying so much better implies that I was expecting it to turn out badly. This turned out amazing.
Well, it was going to be amazing, but
yeah.
You just had to ruin it at the end.
Yeah,
we could have had this discussion going for another 90 minutes easily, but unfortunately, we all have lives to get to. Well, ye do. I can't speak for myself.
Somewhat, I suppose. But no, I really appreciate y'all having me. This has been absolutely terrific, and yeah, please feel free to find me. And if y'all want to talk more stuff about Persona or Parasocial or anything of the above, come find me. I'd love to be able to chat with y'all.
You want to come and join me next week to discuss Final Fantasy?
I could.
Hey there, beautiful people. Thanks for reaching the end of the episode. If you're listening to this, please do consider checking us out on Patreon, as well as dropping a follow and a like here. Also, check us out on Twitch, where you can be directly involved in these discussions face to face with me. We can have some nice, deep conversations about all the different things that we discuss here on this channel. Take care of yourselves. Stay beautiful.